Yeah, YouTube reacting to why do we
Does
fear the
something about
almost
this feel
human?
wrong? The answer is probably yes, but you likely can't explain why. Why do entities that are almost human creep us out more than things that aren't human at all? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Chase. Today we're going to be exploring the uncanny. Not
The
just the uncanny
uncanny.
valley and why humanoid robots or
Oh my
realistic
god, they
looking
gotta put.
dolls make us feel creeped out, but I want to go a step farther and explore the uncanny as a whole, and instances in life where that same feeling may be invoked. Let's get right into it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy. I don't want to waste time explaining what the uncanny valley is because I feel like most of you guys probably already know by now.
But
It's not exactly a niche thing, it's talked about all the time now online. If you're watching this video, I assume you probably already know what it is. But for anyone who's completely in the dark, the term Uncanny Valley was first used by Japanese roboticist Masahiro Mori. Mori spent the 1960s working on machines that were designed to mimic
1960s,
human movement and
holy.
appearance. He noticed a trend of people generally responding more positively to robots that were more human-like. But this was only up until a certain point. Eventually, the robots reach a stage where they
Oh
become too
hell no.
human-like while still having characteristics that clearly identify them as being not human. At this point, people begin to react with extreme discomfort and are very avoidant. Mori took note of his observations in an essay written in the 1970s, and the term the Uncanny Valley was coined. Later in the video, we're gonna get into a few theories about why entities that closely resemble us make us feel this way.
So I'm writing an essay on cats in art history. I'm an art history major, and this
But before we do that, I want to try to define what the uncanny actually is. One of the first people to really explore the concept of the uncanny was the founding father of psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud. In Freud's 1919 work, Das Unheimliche, or in English, The Uncanny, Freud describes the uncanny as the class of terrifying which leads back to something long known to us, once very familiar. Which is to say that the uncanny is something that feels familiar and alien at the same time. Something that should feel ordinary or mundane feels off-putting. You see, Freud believed that much of human behavior was driven by repressed desires, fears, and memories. These pieces of you are often buried deep within your subconscious mind. When the uncanny arises, it is
Deep within
this
your
repressed content being
subconscious.
driven to the surface. So beliefs that you're more likely to hold as a child when you don't really understand the way the world works yet, like believing in magic, or spirits possessing objects, and your toys being able to move by themselves. When
Woody.
something in the world provokes these old repressed beliefs, the result is that strange, unsettling feeling, the uncanny. To Freud, things like hyper-realistic dolls and machines are uncanny because they blur
Oh,
the
this
line
shit's
between
creepy.
the
You can't tell me
animate
this is not
and
yo.
inanimate. Our expectations of what it means to be alive, conscious, and human are being challenged. Another different interpretation of the uncanny comes from French psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan, who
Jacques
significantly
Lacan.
reinterpreted much of Freud's work.
Okay, that's not how I was
Lacan
gonna say his
believed that
name.
there are three different orders or registers that describe different dimensions of the human experience. These three registers, the imaginary, the symbolic, and the real, explain how we form our own self-identity and how we interact with the world around us. The imaginary is the realm of images, fantasies, and self-identity, shaped by early experiences and identifications, most notably the mirror stage. The mirror stage often occurs during infancy, when the child is first able to recognize their reflection as themselves. Seeing and recognizing this reflection is when your self-identity begins to form. However, it's based on a misrecognition. It's kind of that same feeling that you get when you look at old pictures of yourself. Neither a
Is that barbed
reflection
wire on
or
the
a
back?
picture is actually
What are you getting
capable
into,
of
man?
fully capturing who you are. The second register is the symbolic, and it is the realm of language and social structure. The symbolic shapes the way that we think, speak, and relate to other people. We use language to represent real things, but our unconscious associations shape our understanding. For example, if I were to say the word dog, we both know what kind of animal I'm talking about. But your
Yep.
past experiences shape the way you feel. If you've had numerous
You
bad
cod.
encounters with dogs, you probably don't like them very much. Those past experiences might invoke a negative connotation around the word. But I've never really had a super negative experience with a dog, so even though we're talking about the same thing, our associations with that thing are entirely different. The real is the final register, and it resists the other two. When I say that it resists the other two registers, what I mean by that is that it cannot be fully put into words or images. The real is experienced when the other two registers are challenged or fractured, most commonly through traumatic experiences, where something that is meaningful to us is taken away or torn apart. Imagine you're walking down the sidewalk with one of your friends, and out of nowhere,
Okay.
a car swerves off the road and hits them, and just like that, they're gone. This would be an encounter with the real. You would be standing there frozen in shock, unable to process what just happened. The other two orders were just ruptured, because there's no way you would ever be able to explain that experience in words or images. To Lacan, the uncanny is a glimpse past the symbolic and into the real. You're seeing something that isn't alive, but it almost seems like it might be. The boundaries between what is alive and what's not collapse, and the result is the uncanny. The real is pressing through,
Yeah, this is
something that is
freaky, bro.
outside our comprehension.
How does our
Fuck
company go
you.
from vibe coding to building securely?
Ugh, yo.
We.
So does the uncanny creep us out because of repressed childhood beliefs or a glimpse past the symbolic and imaginary orders? Maybe that's a part of it. I'm not the one to say. The uncanny is very hard to define and to put into words, but there have been several other theories proposed as to why we evolved to fear the almost human. The mate selection theory
Because
states
we're not used
that
to it.
uncanny features may signal poor reproductive health or genetic defects. We evolved to be repulsed
Okay,
by
what the
the
fuck
almost
is this,
human
man? It got a nose, lips, but no ears, no eyebrows.
because they could signal low fitness in potential mates. From an evolutionary standpoint, mate selection involves subconscious checks for reproductive fitness. Traits commonly associated with the uncanny, like lifeless eyes or pale skin, could indicate infertility or developmental issues. These traits unconsciously trigger this feeling of rejection to avoid passing on the weak genes. I'm kind of going to spoil my own beliefs on this. I think that the uncanny is a conglomerate of a bunch of different things. This is one of the only ones that I think I would count out entirely. Because first of all, I see people that I'm not attracted to all the time, and I would not classify them as uncanny or say that I'm repulsed by them. And besides that, I
Agreed.
wouldn't be able to look at a male doll or figurine and feel that same uncanny sensation because I'm interested in women. So I don't think the
Also
uncanny
agreed.
valley has anything to do with mate selection or avoiding passing on weak genes. Another theory is disease avoidance. Strange and unnatural features might subconsciously remind us of symptoms of illness, triggering an avoidant reaction to reduce the risk of infection. Evolution, of course, favored humans who could detect early signs of illness in others and avoid them. Features like odd coloring and sluggish robotic movement are often found in figures that fall into the uncanny valley, but they can also be signs of illness. We may be seeing these features as signs of possible illness, invoking an avoidant reaction. The predator
Oh,
avoidance
hell
theory
no.
states that the uncanny valley may be a side effect of our predator detection
Isn't
systems.
that shit from a video
A
game?
being that looks almost human,
I feel like I've
but
seen
not
that. I feel
quite,
like I've
could set off
seen somebody
primal
play a
alarm
game
bells
that
of
has that
spotting a predator wearing
ugly
a
ass
human
scary
disguise.
face, bro.
This would also explain why the robotic movement makes
Gotta be
this feeling
queso.
more pronounced, because the jerky unnaturalness of it resembles
Jerky.
something pretending to be human. This is the other one that I'm not too sure about because,
My bad.
as far as I know, there's never been a predator that closely mimicked human behavior. Since the uncanny valley is a pretty universal feeling, it wouldn't make sense for it to be passed down to everyone if it wasn't benefiting our survival. Obviously, predator detection would be incredibly important to early human survival, but specifically fearing the
What the
almost
fuck?
human
Yeah,
and
no, that is
human
for sure a
mimics
threat. The
seems
fuck
a
is
little bit out
that?
there. Unless our ancestors were regularly encountering skinwalkers and wendigo, it doesn't really make sense to me for this trait to be passed down to everybody. Because seeing a saber-toothed tiger standing in front of you and then seeing a mannequin that looks like it might be alive are two completely different feelings. The corpse recognition
Oh,
theory
hell
states
no.
that uncanny features often mirror traits found in corpses or mortally ill humans. Again with the waxy skin and glassy eyes, but also the rigid posture and slack facial expressions. These traits make us feel uncomfortable because of a subconscious association we have between them and death. This one is pretty similar to the disease avoidance theory, which is why I waited to cover this one as well. Both of these theories make sense to me. It's just part of your brain trying to keep you alive. And part of staying alive is keeping you healthy and avoiding getting sick. Of course, staying around sick, dying, or dead people is probably suboptimal for your health and
Yeah.
well-being as a human. So your brain subconsciously steers you away and says, maybe staying around this isn't the best idea. The other hominid hypothesis states
Yo,
that the uncanny
what
valley
is
is a
that?
leftover from when we coexisted with other human-like hominids, like Neanderthals and Denisovans. Our encounters with these species may have regularly involved competition for things like resources and food, leading to a hardwired caution response for almost human faces. Even though we're now the only remaining hominin species left, our brain may
And
have
that dude who
retained
said he
this
did steroids
evolutionary suspicion towards
or got
anything
caught
that
in
may
steroids, some
resemble
shit
a
like that.
separate tribe. Alright, I
Big
know I
as
said
hell
I'm only
though. Oh my
counting a
god.
couple of these out, and I don't know if I want to count this one
Hey
out completely,
yo,
but to me it definitely seems
that was
very
mad
unlikely.
gay.
Maybe it's a part of it because I can see how we would be competing with other species of humans for food and resources. But personally, I would not breed with something or someone that I found to be uncanny looking. And we know that early Homo sapiens bred with Neanderthals. There are people in the world right now who have more Neanderthal DNA than you or I because their ancestors bred with Neanderthals. So again, I don't think this one holds a lot of weight. The category ambiguity theory states that we as people like to put things into categories, and we prefer to be able to tell definitively whether something is human or not. If you look at an object, you put it into the category of not being alive. But
What the
if that
fuck?
object is a doll or mannequin that looks somewhat like a real
Really,
person,
all I'm trying to say is
our brains try and fail to force a classification,
What's wrong with you,
creating
man? That was
that
a joke, bro.
unsettling
We're gonna be
feeling.
doing none of that shit
This
over
one is
here.
pretty straightforward and it makes a lot of sense to me. It kind of ties back to Lacan's theory of the other orders being challenged. I used a dog earlier as an example, so I'm going to use that again. Could you
Why
imagine
is eyes
coming
like
home
that?
one day and your dog is speaking to you fluently?
Oh,
Maybe after a
yeah.
while you get used to it, it
Phew,
might even be
get you one of
cool
these.
for a little.
What? My dog starts. I have a dog and it starts talking to me. He's got you on a. Hand him one of these. Fuck, I don't even think I moved my camera down, but he can. Oh my god, the way I'm punching this ass. He catching the. I'm punting his ass.
Little bit, but your immediate reaction, or at least my immediate reaction, would be that uncanny feeling, because part of what I know about dogs is that they don't
I'm not gonna lie, dog starts talking to me. Either the first thing is I'm doing is kicking the shit out of it, or I'm running away. Even though running away, it's most likely gonna catch me. So
speak.
that one's probably
So if
not a
my
good
dog
idea.
started speaking to me, it's breaking my classification of what a dog is. Another theory is the
That one,
violation
it's like
of
the
social
most
norms.
normal one we've seen.
As humans, we have behavioral
bit crazy though with the
expectations for
eyes.
others baked into our DNA. You can think about something like eye contact. Generally, we all feel comfortable holding eye contact for short durations of time, usually between two.
We? No, we. I'm a bitch, bro. No, we. No, I can't hold eye contact. Okay, I can. No, we though.
5 seconds. But when you meet a person who is breaking eye contact too frequently or holding it for too long, it makes you feel uneasy. Our brain is subconsciously noticing that the behavior being exhibited feels like
What the
mimicry,
fuck is
and
that?
it flags the entity as being possibly deceptive or manipulative. Again, this one makes sense to me, and I can definitely see how this would
Not
be a
gonna hold
part of
eye
it.
contact
I've
then.
definitely met people in my life who make eye contact for way too long or make it too intensely, so maybe the Uncanny Valley is just that, but the next step up. It's the same feeling, but just a more intense version. So in conclusion, we don't really know what the Uncanny is, or why these things that fall into the Uncanny Valley disturb us so much. While we don't have a definitive reason for the Uncanny Valley's existence, it's likely the result of multiple systems overlapping rather than just having one specific cause. It reveals just how deeply we care about what it means to be human, and how violated we can feel when something blurs the line between that boundary. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope
You know
that
what,
you
man?
enjoyed this video.
Thank you so much for
learned
posting.
something new, or at least found it entertaining. Also, I need to say thank you guys for 20,000, 30,000, and now almost 40,000 subscribers. It is really crazy. That is really just mind-blowing to me. My goal was 50,000 before the end of the year, and it looks like we're gonna get there. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget.
Let's see what other videos you got. This is 6 months ago. You shit. You about to hit. You close. You getting close to 100 pounds. And you getting 100 pounds. You're getting close to 100 pounds. You're getting close to 100 pounds. You're getting close to 100 pounds. My bad. Hey, W video. No, that was a cool video. Cool video.